What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and build the DVI port, and then we'll work on the VGA port. So let's look at the reference image real quick. Here's the DVI port. It's this white one over here. If we look at this carefully, we can actually count the number of holes here of the DVI port. First of all, there's this big kind of slanted, thin kind of slot type of hole right there. And then we have these right here. So basically these are broken up into 3 columns that go from top to bottom, and then all of these rows. Now how many rows are there? Well, if we count, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 rows down and about 3 columns across. And what we need to do is imitate that. So how can we imitate that? Well, I'm going to start off with this polygon here. We already have this nice rectangular polygon here. So let me just rip off that geometry and use it. So I'll select that polygon. I'll go to extract and keep. So I leave the original alone. I'm going to take this new polygon. I'm going to pull it out a bit like this so it sticks out a little bit. Because in real life, I believe that sticks out a bit. If I look at the reference image again, looks like it's sticking out. A little bit hard to tell right there, but I'm pretty sure it sticks out just a bit. Anyway, that's how I'm going to do it. And I'm also going to scale this polygon down just a little bit. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy and I'll probably go ahead and inset it. As you notice, I use the inset tool quite a bit. I'm going to inset it a little bit, something like this maybe. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge and that edge. I'm going to subdivide that evenly, and I have a new edge. Let me go to my reference image. This new edge will go up here. It's basically going to be an edge that divides this top part here from the rest of this part here with all the little holes, okay? Now, what I'll do next is pretty simple. Let me just get this done and out of the way. I'm going to inset this polygon over here. And then, similar to what the image has, I'll create this kind of thin hole right there. Something like that looks pretty good. Okay, down here, what we're going to do is we're going to take this edge here on the left and the one on the right. We're going to use subdivide evenly here, and we're going to make 8 subdivisions because remember we have 8 little holes. And I'm also going to take all of these edges, and I'm going to do a split, subdivide edges evenly. I'm going to make 3 subdivisions because remember we have 3 columns. So we've got 3 columns and about 8 rows. And then what I'll do is I'll select all of these polygons that I've just created, all these new polygons. I'm going to inset those and take the merge parameter off, reduce the size by a good amount, something like this, something to where it looks pretty good to you. And then I'm just going to Control D to extrude and push these in. And there we go. We have something like the image. Now to finish this off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge up here, Alt middle mouse button, click any other border edge, so basically those blue border edges. And then I'm going to hit Control D to extrude and push this into the object. And to finish this off, I'm going to take the corner, all of these corner edges right here that you see, and I'm going to bevel those, and something like that. Now I'm going to come back to the actual base geometry, this area, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 3 polygons that are right there, because that's where the hole is. If we look at the reference image, that area is an actual hole. Okay, not where the screws go, but that area where the DVI port sits in, that's a hole. So I'm going to take those polygons, and it looks like something funny happened there, and the reason for that is we need to freeze modeling. So let me take all this freeze modeling, and let me take those polygons again, extrude them, and I'm going to pull them in, and they could go in as far as you want. I'm going to go in about that far. Looks pretty good. And then finally here to finish this off, this little area here is like a hole, so I'm going to hit Control D and extrude that in. So you've got ourselves that little slot right there, that little hole. So there we go. There's our DVI port. Pretty cool. And then if you wanted to, you could take this and you can scale it or adjust it however you need. If you think it's too small or skinny, you can adjust it. Okay, so that takes care of that. Let me rename that. Actually, I'm not even going to bother renaming it because I'm going to merge it later anyway. Okay, over here, we're going to do a similar process. I'm going to take this polygon here, extract and keep. I'm going to pull it out just a bit so it sticks out of the object just a little bit like that, just like what I did with the other one. Okay, let me look at my reference image just so I can refresh my mind's eye here. Okay, you see how this is? Basically need 3 columns of holes again, but this time we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each column has 5 holes. But the difference is these holes are actually offset. On the left and on the right, we have a set of holes that actually match up. They're parallel with each other. But then the center column has holes that are kind of offset a little bit toward the top. See that? So we have to kind of imitate that. So how in the world are we going to go ahead and imitate that? Well, first let me take this polygon. I'm going to inset it. About this much will probably work out pretty good. Okay. Now I'm going to take these two edges there and I'm going to subdivide those evenly. Now let me go back to the image. We said we needed 5 holes. Okay. That means we need 5 subdivisions. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because of that offset, because of what we saw in the image here where these holes in the middle are kind of up above the holes on the left and the right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an extra subdivision, a 6th subdivision, okay? You're going to see how that's going to work. I'm going to take all of these edges here. I'm going to subdivide those evenly. We need 3 subdivisions. I'm going to take these polygons here, and these polygons here, and then these polygons here. So see the kind of pattern I have? I have these 5 here, these 5 here, and then in the middle I have the 5 that are on the top. That's why I created 6 subdivisions, so I could have those extra polygons on the top and bottom that allow me to offset this stuff. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, let me take actually the whole thing and scale it down a little bit. And let me go back to those polygons. And I'm going to take these polygons and I'm going to inset them like usual. Take off the merge option there. I'm going to inset them about maybe, I don't know, that amount looks pretty good. Now I'm going to hit Control D to extrude them and I'm going to pull them in like that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to where it says camera. I'm going to switch to a top view. Hit F on the keyboard to frame in on that. Here's our object. It's still selected. I'm going to hit E for edges on the keyboard. And I'm going to select all of those edges here in the middle. And I'm going to go back to my camera view. And you can see all the edges that I selected very quickly and easily. Then I'm going to bevel those edges to make these nice round holes. So I'm going to give this maybe a distance of 4 or something like that. That looks pretty good. So I'll take this stuff, freeze modeling on it, come back to the VGA port. I'm going to take the border edges. Okay, so all these edges here on the borders, the blue ones. Hit Control D to extrude, pull that in. And then I need to make a little bit more adjustments to this. I'm going to scale this down a little bit more. And then I'm going to take this polygon on the side here. And I'm going to scale it up just a bit like that. Because if I look at the reference image, you can see that what we have here is this part here kind of gets in a little bit closer and this part kind of just flares out. And that's the kind of detail that I'm going for. So I'm not going to do it too much, just a subtle amount. With the Alt middle mouse button, select all that entire ring of edges all the way around. Go to Bevel. Bevel this to your heart's content, to whatever looks good to you. That looks good to me. I'm going to say I'm done with that. I'm going to come back to the base geometry here and do the same thing I did for the DVI port area. Take those polygons and extrude them and pull them in. And there's our VGA port. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this stuff and merge it all into one object. I'm going to take the tolerance to complete 0 because I don't need that to be welded at all. I'm going to hit delete to delete the original one. Freeze modeling. And there we go. That's pretty much done. Okay, so we're finished with those plugs and things. There's still a lot more to work on the back area, so we'll do that in the next video.